morning, Geekdom. How we doing, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, VC Realm? I have been consistent tight cast of a certain man. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yes, sir. I told you, first episode, first two episodes. I was like, seems pretty good. Seems like somebody got an issue with a particular type of man, particular melanin composition. Just saying. But good morning, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, support if you feel so inclined. I am the artisanmc, and I'm here to do the fastest moving reaction on YouTube. 80-mile-an-hour reaction video on my commute. I'm a little bit early, but better early than late. I actually didn't sleep that much. I guess it's because I watched She-Hulk last night at 1 o'clock in the morning before I went to sleep, and then I woke right up at 5:30. Probably was unrested. Wasn't satisfied. But yeah, the pattern is definitive now. So I'll say this about episode 6. This is another episode not written by the main series creator, Jessica Gannett. And when you watch this episode, you will see there are some things missing. There are some things missing. Now, the main thing that's missing is a lot of man hate. That's the main thing missing. So this is further proving my point about self-insert with this writer. Her episodes is full of that shit. Snarky man hate. And it's mainly for being overlooked. I think it's so much better than everybody else around you. Here's a little hint. If you're better than the people around you, and those people are still around you, you ain't better than them. If you're better than them, your ass wouldn't be here or in that group. Just saying. We in the Black Manosphere don't have the benefit of delusion, which is we understand that water seeks its own level. Wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are, motherfucker. Shout out to Buckaroo Banzai. So this episode is, I wouldn't necessarily call it a nuttin' burger, even though there was not really any fighting going on. But there was the understanding that she got ghosted. Now, I found this episode when it started off automatically, totally a little different. Camera angles are different. They got pop-ups happening in the show. She didn't even really talk into the camera until like 3/4 halfway into the show, which is weird because it's only a 30-minute show, right? And you get this whole montage with her getting, dating Josh and whatnot, and all the stuff they're going through. Now, being a relatively young man and going through this whole dating process, I do wish our good brother Kevin Samuels was still here to watch this show and give his opinion on it, because one, he is a geek, and one, he was a high value man, right? And he can speak on this point that is bound plainly obvious in this, right? that 4 or 5 date BS is just that, BS. Josh was taking her out on 3 or 4 dates, right? She was leading them on, and oh no, maybe I'll get you. Maybe I won't. Maybe you can come in tonight. Maybe you can. right? Okay, whatever. But homeboy, the doctor, got one date with She-Hulk and he was getting banged out. One day, he didn't have to buy her shit. They split a plate of fries that she paid for. But the good guy, the other guy, got the good smile and stuff like that. Oh yeah, he getting 3 fucking days. You can wait. Look, man, all that shit, that is all a game. If you got to go on 4 dates, she don't really want your ass. Or she playing the game and she can get herself tripped up. Grown women don't have to worry about shit like that. Because grown women, grown in the sense that I've had kids and they're grown, don't worry about shit like that. Look, if we go out and I want to have sex, we're going to have sex. That's what happens. Like I've told people many a time. 2 people attracted to each other don't need much. Just a place and opportunity. It gets done, it's not an issue. But because she was trying to lead this dude on and make him wait so much, what happened? She got fucking ghosted. Now, we already kind of knew that Josh was up to some bullshit, right? We already kind of figured that out from the wedding episode. Too good, trying to move too cool, and people are paying attention to him, right? He up to something. But him smashing and dashing, right? Hulk smashing and dashing. Well, look, you can see me laughing thinking that it's insensitive that I'm laughing about this woman's pain and bullshit. It's just that bullshit. It's not, look, man, women do this shit more than guys, okay? Women do this more than guys. They do. So, stop worrying about it. Grow up. I'm serious. It's just hilarious. It's a stupid fucking dating game that modern women play. It's stupid. Because if you ask me, the idea of ghosting probably came from women first. Because they the main ones who get pissed off about it. Main ones. If you was playing, dangling the coochie for so long and so many dates, and the dude hit it and left, you pissed him off. That's why. Because after a point, you did a little bit too much that his last point of recourse with dealing with you was like, I'm going to just get this, and after I get this, I'm out of here. I'm sick of her shit. That's all it is. You did too much. You did way too much. There was nothing else of value here. And we figured it out early. You got to remember, in this hunter and gatherer situation, who's the gatherer? Gathering all they nuts. And who's the hunter? Laying in wait, being patient to pick off the prey so the family can eat. Figure it out. So, you get this montage of Jen going on all these dates with Josh. Josh hit, she ain't seen him. Now she all in her phone every 2 seconds looking for him, which is the typical game that modern women play when dating. You act aloof, like you don't want him, you're not interested, he can just wait on you or whatever. And then the guy finally get tired of that shit because men do have their limits. And they move on. And now you're sitting there looking because you're still waiting for that dopamine rush of people feeding attention into your ass 24/7. We did. We watered you. You didn't want to act right. Stop watering you. Now you lost your damn mind. What are we supposed to do about that, Jude? Right? So now she can't function on her regular day of day because Josh A came to water her, paid her no attention, right? Now, I could feel bad for the character, but I don't. But I understand that this is the modern dating fucking dilemma. It happens on both sides, trust me. The better dudes you are, so to speak, good guy you are, the more it's gonna happen to you. The more it is. We're gonna have to be serious with us. Too many dick pics in their DM, right? They're afraid of sending. And this is what you get. Sitting on the couch watching Miss Piggy, looking for your phone to chirp. Now, like I said, tonally, you can tell it's a different writer, a different director, just how everything is shot. Now, I've totally forgot about this episode. I knew I wasn't getting Daredevil this episode, so I wasn't disappointed at all. I knew I wasn't. I said it last week, so you didn't get Daredevil this next episode. And I just watched it because I'm watching the show. Good or bad, I'm paddling through this bullshit, right? And sure enough, there was no Daredevil. I'm like, look, I hate being right about the wrong thing. The shit you don't want to be right about. Like, ugh, it's cursed. But what I forgot all about is that we still had one more episode with Blonsky to get. So Emil Blonsky showed up in the episode. And I was like, oh, that's right. He has his retreat. Okay, let's see what happens here. Now, Jen has to go up there to Blonsky's little rehab or anger management fucking ranch to check and see why his inhibitor collar blinked out. And his parole officer wants some backup to go up there and deal with it, which would play in the show like it's silly. I'm like, that's the smartest fucking move he made. I wouldn't go up there to be checking on his fucking ankle bracelet without no Hulk with me. Oh no, you on call, baby. Let's go. Look, he told her flat out, look, I don't think I need to be in the hospital. Exactly. I'm allergic to bed sores and shit. Which I thought was funny. So she goes with the guy, the parole officer, up to Summer Ranch, and we get to see Emil Blonsky again on his retreat. Now, I think something is going on with the ankle brace. It may be connected to this intelligentsia, or it may just be connected to some Thunderbolt stuff that Blonsky is slipping in and out of his little inhibitor thing to go off and do a mission, and then coming back to his ranch and putting it back on, keeping stuff cool, right? You know he has to play the game. He's not stupid. You got to remember, Blonsky was SAS, right? The military, or U.S., or not the U.S., excuse me. He was a British soldier, special forces. He's not a dummy, okay? He's not a dummy and a capable fighter. So I don't believe everything is on the up and up. I believe he figured out a way to get his ass out of prison, but I don't believe everything is on the up and up with Blonsky. At VC Realm, I can't read all of your comments because it's a lot. You write in paragraphs, and I'm driving, so I can't read all of that at the moment. So while she's there, and they're talking to Blonsky, and she's kind of ignoring him, which is par for the course for modern women. They always staring in their goddamn phone. See Angry Man in his conversation about Lilith to find out why modern women are always staring in their damn phone. What are they looking at? And while she's sitting there looking for a signal, talking to Blonsky, two Morts show up and destroy her car a bit, right? And these two Morts that show up is El Alligator, I forget how to say his name, not El Matador, and Man Bull. and they get into a fight and crush her damn Prius, which is funny as hell to me because I don't necessarily like Priuses anyway. I drove a Prius Prime when I visited my daughter, and it's a cool car, but I don't like Priuses. I feel like I'm riding in a vagina for some reason. Look, dude, I feel like I left something when I got in the car. I left something outside when I got in here. It's not enough room for some parts. I don't know. But they're fighting and they crush her car. And it turns out that Blonsky is running this retreat to help reform other, superpower, not superheroes, mind you. Everybody with powers is not a superhero or a supervillain. They just got superpowers, right? Reform these other superpowered people who are trying to get in touch with anger or other kind of issues that they have. And basically, he's running a support group for superpowered people to get over their issues. I'm like, well, that is classic. That's something I need to see more of. Because that, in effect, is actually funny to me. Because Blonsky, even though with his whole namaste, I'm at peace now, I only turn when I want to, I'm not ruled by the aggression, is funny in and of itself. Like, this fool is lying, right? He is so much capping. It's even funnier to see him with a group of other superpowered people, and they are some of the D-list of D-list characters that you've ever seen. Only that was actually funny. This is the part where the show is actually funny. Pulling in these fucking C and D-list characters that most people don't even know of and having people act them out on the screen. That's actually funny. Man Bull, I can't even remember when the last time Man Bull ever showed up. Same thing with Ellie Gar or whatever. Like, no fucking way. Is that a real character? Like, look, I told y'all before, I don't know everything. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And I'm like, who is this motherfucker? I gotta look him up. Right? Now, you find out that Blonsky is working with them and they have some anger issues because they're in a codependent relationship where he looks like a matador and the Man Bull looks like a bull. So they fight, right? Oh my God. I really need to find out whose comic they first showed up in because this is some ridiculous shit, right? Typical, Stan Lee Morts or something like that. A Mort of the month, right? But he's helping to work on their issue. Now he walks Jen all over his compound and tries to get her to relax and stop looking at the damn phone and, sell her on what he's doing here. And there is an undercurrent that he might not be on the up and up because the whole time I'm watching this part, it can seem really boring, but it's an undercurrent of like, he ain't really up to what he say he up to necessarily. There's some bullshit going on here, right? You wait for somebody to jump out of the bushes, with a syringe and try to stab Jen or something, right? But okay, we'll deal with this shit. You get him leaving her, to her devices for a while. And then she actually finds her way after she had walked all over this compound, this nice, beautiful scenery and stuff like that, peaceful environment. And she walking all over the place trying to get a cell phone signal because she don't know how to live without her cell phone. Shout out to LL Cool J. Right. But she comes upon their support meeting, and in the meeting is Man Bull, Ellie Gar, I think his name is, Saray, or whatever his name was, and fucking Porcupine. I fucking howled when I saw Porcupine. Now, look, in the category of Mort characters, D-list superpowered characters, I like Porcupine. Porcupine is funny as shit to me. Now, later on in the episode, you see they did a race swap on Porcupine. which I thought was fucked up and not necessary. But Porcupine in the comic books is the white dude. He is a terrible fucking villain. Terrible. He's no good at it. He's halfway stupid, right? Last time I saw Porcupine was reading Spider-Woman comics, because yes, I'm not a misogynist. I do like women, and I will read female-led comic books too. Dumbasses, right? But he was in Spider-Woman's book, helping her take care of her baby when Spider-Woman started her own detective agency. And Porcupine was funny. He was one of the fun parts of the book because he was comedic. He was fun. He tried. He got his ass kicked, but he tried. It was hilarious. So seeing Porcupine show up, it's like, holy shit, here's one I like, right? Now Porcupine being there, not wanting to take off his costume, because I think part of Porcupine's story, he got to shit. He's just doing the crime thing to try to, pay the bills. He just doing what he can. Right, but he got this goddamn porcupine suit on. It's like, dude, you could be really powerful if you weren't so stupid. Like, you could actually be a threat. But you look silly because you won't take off the damn suit, right? That was hilarious. Now, it's hilarious to me to see Porcupine. Not that the show at this part is hilarious at all. It's just kind of going along. But I laugh because I'm seeing Porcupine. Because I know who I am. So the part where it becomes funny is these guys are there going over their issues, and Blonsky introduces all of them, and then you see, God damn it, I remember his name all the way up until this moment. Serene, whatever. It's a black dude in there. He thinks he's a vampire, right? Like, yeah, don't say that shit around Blade. Right? But Blonsky is going over each one of their issues, having identity issues, acceptance issues, codependency issues. I'm like, wow, this is kind of funny. Okay, the setting is kind of funny what they're going into, right? And Blonsky asks Jen to, stay and sit, and she gets kind of intrigued with what the hell these dudes is talking about. And they're actually talking about some real shit, some real psychological stuff, right? Nah, Aquatech, he's not a Blade wannabe. He thinks he's a vampire. So he's a vampire wannabe. I'm saying don't say it around Blade, because Blade would stake his ass. You better hope you're not a vampire. You get your ass. You're hanging somewhere. Right? But the funny lines in this keeps coming across from this fake vampire character, right? Because he says some funny shit. Now, while they're sitting there going over this stuff, some dude comes in who was in the yurt that they have on this compound. And the guy that comes in is Wrecker from the Wrecking Crew, the little Latino dude with the magic crowbar. Now, these are some more to Wrecking Crew. I like Wrecking Crew. It's dumb as hell, but they're kind of cool to me. They always have been. Partly because they kind of construct work. Look, I like the good doozers in Fraggle Rock. There's reasons, okay? There's reasons. Line, right? Mob in my chat, the Wrecking Crew. Giving out tune-ups, right? Magic crowbar. Yeah, it seems silly as shit, but if he show up and start swinging that shit at you and he doing damage like Thor's hammer, you take him serious for a hot second, even though he looked ridiculous, right? Whatever. It is what it is, right? Not all superpowered characters are created equal. 1 second, I gotta go through this goddamn thing. But it turns up that Wrecker is here. Jen sees him, loses her shit, and tries to start kicking his ass. 1 second, you guys. All right, so Wrecker is there. Jen hulks out. She wants to kick his ass. Blonsky kind of calms her down without changing. Blonsky doesn't change. She's kind of in control of shit. Like people are afraid because they know who he is, but he don't have to change to get them to settle the fuck down. And it turns out that Wrecker had a change of heart after Jen kicked his ass and realized what he was doing was kind of wrong and gave it up and came to Blonsky's retreat to work on his anger and stuff like that. Right? Yeah, the Wrecking Crew can be a problem if you take them seriously. Wrecker, Thunderball, dude, they can be a problem. They can be a problem. Thunderball was actually cool when he was in the Hood's version of the Illuminati coming to an MCU near you. But she sits down and listens to him talk, and he's actually breaking her down a little bit to where she finally ends up sitting in the circle with these dudes, and she's going through her own emotional pain. Now, this is something that you will hardly ever fucking see in the modern world, unless it's on television, right? You see a modern woman sitting down in therapy, support group or not, therapy, taking accountability for why she's upset and what her emotional problems are. This is why you couldn't get this episode from the series creator, because she ain't there yet. She's not there yet. So I thought, okay, this is actually interesting. She's sitting there knowing why she's upset. Putting it on the table, like, yeah, you know, people didn't accept me as Jen. I wanted them to like me for just me. It's like, yeah, kinda. I mean, it's still kind of off for the character, but this is some good shit right here. Okay, cool. Now I know who didn't write this. Once again, I know who didn't write this. Like, fucking hell, dude, you need to stop having other people on this show doing episodes. They're making you look bad on your show. Woo. You're supposed to be the best writer. So it ends up that she goes over the whole thing, how hurt she was that he left and somebody was finally seeing her for her, and it didn't take She-Hulk to do it, and all this gushy stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can feel for you there. I mean, I'm not heartless all the time. I play one on YouTube. But okay, I can get it. You feel kind of hurt. Cool, whatever. You thought this was your way in. You want to be accepted, which is, to me, universal between men and women, male, female. You always want to be accepted, okay? Doesn't matter what you do, even if you're in prison and you locked up for murder, you want all us rest of the murderers to understand that you're serious and your little dogs you was killing ain't that bad, right? Just as good as everybody else, right? Just as good as a piece of shit as everybody else. Now, this part resolves with them trying to get Porcupine, since Jen is immediately, which wouldn't happen in therapy. Your breakthroughs ain't that quick, right? Support group or not, your breakthroughs ain't that quick, but it's a 30-minute show, and we burn, 10 minutes on her, 15 minutes or more with her walking around in silent montages of her dating, right? She has a little bit of a breakthrough, a come to Jesus moment or whatever, and now she's trying to influence the rest of the group to do it too. And they finally get Porcupine to take off his mask because he had been wearing his costume nonstop and wouldn't take off his mask. Now, I'll say this. Metaphorically, the Porcupine costume is what people do psychologically to protect themselves from emotional hurt after they've already had some emotional trauma. That is a real thing. That's look, I'm not trying to slip on the psych hat all the way, but understand that Iron Man, in a sense, is a metaphor for the problems that go on with people. On the outside, he's a hero. Super tough, got all the power he needs, all the rest of that shit, right? On the inside of that suit is just this regular dude, Tony Stark, who has his own emotional issues, drinking problems, all that shit. Insecurities, everything. but he wraps himself in this hard shell. It's just what it is. It's, look, you got to give credit to the people who created these characters at first. They didn't necessarily make them for kids. They made them because they wanted to tell a story, not an agenda, a fucking story. And they were grown men. They weren't children. So they had some of those ideas that they poured into this stuff. That's why if you really want to delve into psychology, you read Batman, because it's just a psych study. That's it. So in this episode, that's what's going on with Porcupine. He has on his costume to keep people away. And a lot of people are just like that, prickly on the outside, to keep you away from them. I'm thinking of 3 of them right now in my personal life. It's just what it is. But in the show, they coax him, Porcupine, to take off his mask. And when he takes off his mask, it's a bumpy faced, big bearded black dude. Now, this is the part that was like, oh, what the fuck? But I kind of figured they were going there because in this support group, the vampire dude is kind of effeminate. Common theme in this show, right? Black men show up, they either sex objects or effeminate, right? The other one is Porcupine with attachment issues or acceptance issues of who he is, and he's hiding in this suit that he won't take off. And then he's some fat, bumpy faced dude. I'm like, okay, another goddamn trope. What was wrong with having that be the white guy? Like the character is in Marvel. What was wrong with that? We needed another black dude so we can make a joke about black dudes stinking and some shit like that. All right, whatever the fuck. Whatever the fuck. Right. Yeah, he looked haggard, and apparently he smelled really bad, which I believe that was in the Spider-Woman comic when she changed she left the Avengers, changed her costume, had a baby, and she started her own detective agency or investigations agency. Porcupine was working with her. He was the nanny and chauffeur and shit like that. Because she kicked his ass in like an earlier issue. And he needed a job. Tell you he's fun. He's a white dude. Same beard and everything else, but he was a white dude. Same problems. I believe he's still stunk in that one too. But seeing that was kind of disappointing. I was like, oh, here we go with this shit again. Right? But the lines that were exchanged, some of them were kind of good. The funniest ones coming from, God damn it, can somebody remember this the fake vampire's name, Serene or something like that? He was funny. He had some funny lines. Don't talk about my daddy. That shit was kind of funny to me. I laughed when I heard it. And it is, oh, you're so nice and sweet and so. Oh, sorry. Because he was getting into his vampire shit. And tasty. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. That shit was actually funny. That was kind of funny. That character, the beard looked like something from 300. Yeah. Look, Porcupine in the Spider-Woman comic, his beard looked like Zach Galifianakis. That's what he looked like. That's why the character was fucking funny. It looked like Zach Galifianakis as a knockoff, a D-list supervillain, and it wasn't working. So Spider-Woman started training him to be a superhero. And he did some heroic shit. He was just a nanny. That was it. Wearing the porcupine costume all around her apartment, trying to feed the baby bottles and shit like that. It was kind of funny. Look, man, I enjoy a good laugh if it's funny. If it's not, you got to be working really hard to fuck up a good laugh for me because I'm waiting to laugh. No problem doing it. So the episode resolves with her leaving the group, feeling all happy about the group. Tow truck has showed up to pick up her Prius unprimed and, tow it back to, I guess, L.A. And she's talking to Blonsky and getting the understanding that how she can better herself and find some acceptance with herself. And it's supposed to serve as like an emotional growth for her as a character from this episode. And she leaves with that in her mind. But then you see she relapses 3 days later. She does what chicks do. She back fucking with Josh again. 3 days later, she got Josh over again. He comes over that night, bangs it out again, right? Puts her to sleep, right? Put her night-night. And then you see what's going on with Josh when he puts her to sleep. He's sitting there copying information off of her cell phone, which to me is just her contacts for GL and K for the law firm, which means that'll probably get her ass fired if that comes out. I mean, unless she got cloud pictures of her green her green cooch or something on there, then she could be worried. The green cactus. Somebody can see that shit. I don't know. You don't need to. He just did. But then he also takes a picture of her knocked out in bed, like, yeah, I knocked your ass out, and sends a picture to the Hulk King. So it confirms that, like we thought in the last episode, that Josh wasn't on the up and up because somebody was sitting there monitoring him and Jennifer sitting there eating fries. Josh is not on the up and up. He is working with the Hulk King, and it might be, excuse me, he might be one of those wrecking crew members. He might be. He might have been the one that had the mask on, because you already have met two of them in her regular, life and dating. You've already met two of them, Wrecker and the other dude that was all into can you be killed, can your skin be cut? He's a weirdo, right? Now, the other theory I've heard thrown out there about this is that the Hulk King could be Hulkling. Okay, I'd buy that because I know that's the other, or one of the last young Avengers that need to be dropped into this shit somewhere to introduce it. You could do it here. That'd be fine. It'd make more sense for She-Hulk showing up in a secret invasion. It would. So I'm willing to see that if that's the case, if it's not Samuel Stearns, but I'm still betting on that as the leader. That's just me. I could be wrong. I could be right. Nobody paying me one way or the other for this shit. Because as far as I know, this stream been on for 40 minutes and ain't nobody donated shit to the Cash App. Just saying. So the episode resolved with seeing that things are pretty much gone back to normal for her and she's going to go on with her life. And then we're out of this episode into the next one. What was my feel on this episode? It was a little better than the last one, just because there was a couple of funny points in it that came from that fake vampire character, just in some of the stuff he said. It made me laugh to see Porcupine, which I thought it was kind of cool. I like seeing some of these Mort villains, get some screen time, because look, you can use these all fucking day. You can use these guys all day. It's so many of them. It's ridiculous. That's why they're called like Morts of the Month, because Stan and them dudes, they made up a new shitty villain every month for a comic book. They just made them up. And if you listen to interviews with Stan Lee, he made them up off of sound effects and shit. Gore, yeah. We'll call them that. They made up a bunch of these dudes, dude. There's hell of them out there. So I'd like to see more of these. I'd like to see more of these dudes. That'll be funny. I'm still waiting for Frogman to show up. So that should be interesting when I see him. Maybe that's when Daredevil will show up, because he can keep up with the Frogman. I don't know. But like I expected, no Daredevil in this episode. It is a different episode with a little bit more going on, with no real man hate in it, because it's not written by the woman who's creating this show, which is showing you what her issue is. Her issue is being overlooked. Was it as exciting as Andor? Fuck no. Fuck no. That's why I watched Andor episode 4 again before I watched this She-Hulk episode. So I was still up. So I was like, okay, let's just watch this and see what it's gonna be, because this episode was good. I'm expecting to get pissed off watching the She-Hulk. On the scale of all the rest of the episodes, nothing happened, but it wasn't terribly good. I got more entertainment out of it for people who showed up in little quips than anything else. Otherwise, it wasn't shit happening. It was boring.
You know, I got more laughs talking about it with y'all just now than I did watching the fucking show. But it is what it is. I'm just waiting for the shit to be over. I'm watching every episode, waiting for something decent to happen, and moving on from there. That's it. So that was it for the She-Hulk 6. You can watch it. I would basically say it had a small moments with the villains, but I was bored overall. Yeah, exactly, Beastly. It was boring overall, but the little support group with the villains was kind of funny because there was actually some decent writing in that scene. Even when Jen being vulnerable and exposing herself, that was some decent writing. That was somebody taking some accountability for herself and why she's doing the things that she's doing. You will not see that in the rest of them episodes. You don't, especially the ones by Gal. You don't see that. She's blaming everybody else. She's better than everybody, and everybody else is the problem. Well, that's fucking unlikable. It is. I mean, talked about this on Dr. Anwar last night on the big discussion, right? Why? What makes this character unlikable is because nobody likes these people who don't have no fucking flaws. I'm better than all of you, but nothing ever happens to me. But you got no life experience to pull on. So what are you talking about? You just bitching. It's not. Look, I pointed out last night. Why do we like characters like Ella Ripley and Sarah Connor and Celine from Underworld? Not because they kicked everybody ass. Ellen Ripley wasn't no soldier. She wasn't the baddest ass chick running around there telling everybody what she could and couldn't do. She didn't even want to be there. That day or any day, she was a person thrust into the situation. And if you listen to Stan Lee interviews about how he thought about Marvel Comics, ordinary people put into extraordinary situations and the heroism that comes up out of them from that. Same thing with Sarah Connor. First movie, Sarah Connor wasn't shit. She was a fucking waitress. Just a regular ass 20-year-old waitress chick. Not thinking about none of this shit. Barely can keep a dude and get a date. In the course of one night or two nights, dealing with this dude from the future, finding out what things are supposed to be, by the time you get to the next movie, she ain't turned into a kick-ass female soldier. She ain't got with some dudes, got trained, learned weapons, learned tactics, and she in there hardcore. Complete switch. That wasn't who she started out as. And that's what you get into. The rest of these characters, I'm just better than you just because I existed. How? You younger than me. That means you late to the fucking party. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. That's so stupid. And that's why they're not likable. That's why characters like this are not likable. She-Hulk in these early episodes are not likable, just like Galadriel in them Rings of Power. Not likable. Not likable characters. You can't blame that on dudes, blame it on the women writing this shit. You made an unlikable character. That ain't got shit to do with us. We didn't write it. You got the power of the pen, right? Okay then, take your fucking L. Like this character just did in the show that you want. Take your fucking L. Own it. That makes you relatable. But this other shit, anyway. But that's it, you guys. I'm at work now. I got some stuff to do. We got another meeting. And since I got here early, I can finish this in some time and not be rushing. But I thank you guys for coming through today. Like, share, subscribe, if you feel so. If you just do, just put your mouth. But there were some funny parts in this episode. It wasn't an overly good episode, but there were some funny parts. So, look, if you feel like watching something, it's Thursday night. Ain't shit coming on tonight. What? Fuck. Rings of Power comes on tomorrow. It's gonna take some power. It's gonna take me some power to power through that shit. It really is. It's not interesting at all. Speaking of uninterested shit, but like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been artisanmc, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.